When my abandoned parents returned, my rich aunt's shocking legacy changed everything. The thunder rolled in the distance, dark clouds spiraling ominously overhead. In that moment, it felt as if the very sky was hinting at a calamity brewing beneath its surface. The door swung open, creaking like an ancient coffin, and there they stood. My parents long gone like shadows pulling up from the past. But why now? Why after all these years? Life had been a whirlwind since my aunt's death. She was wealthy, eccentric, and perhaps a little wild. Every moment of her outrageous life had left echoes in the town. And now, with her will freshly cut in stone, the tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. It was said she had hidden a massive fortune somewhere, and whispers of her estate sounded like thrilling tales straight out of a mystery novel. I could almost feel the ghost of her laughter haunting me, daring me to uncover the truth. The town had its eyes glued to my family. Old Mrs. Campbell, who lived next door, peeked through her curtains like a hawk, her expression a mixture of shock and insatiable curiosity. Something sinister lurked. There was talk of family secrets, even curses. And there were letters tied neatly in a dusty ribbon, containing my aunt's final wishes. I had to know what they said. A tightness gripped my chest as I reached for the stack, trembling hands tearing open the first envelope. A chill surged through me. The words seemed to gasp from the page, detailing her wishes in brittle, shocking detail. But as I scanned them, something felt off. Names I didn't recognize. Places my mind couldn't fathom. What kind of legacy was this? And why were my parents back now? The feeling of unease grew around me like a tightening noose. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As I took a deep breath and contemplated my next move, the sound of a low rumble echoed from the gathering storm. A flash of lightning illuminated the darkened room for just a heartbeat. My parents' eyes held depths of despair and secrets I couldn't begin to understand. The question burned in my mind. What had they really come back for? The answers lay within those letters, and I had to uncover the truth before it buried us all alive. What other revelations awaited in the unforgiving shadows? The storm outside intensified, rain hammering against the windows like a frantic heartbeat. I could barely think through the chaos. I focused on my parents standing in the doorway, their forms illuminated only in fleeting flashes of lightning, shadows clinging to their faces. What did they want? The question spun like a whirlwind in my mind. Why are you here? I finally managed to blurt out, my voice barely escaping the lump in my throat. My mom stepped forward, her eyes glistening with unshed tears, and for a moment, I thought I saw a spark of the warmth I had missed for so long. But it was gone in an instant, erased by the weight of unspoken words. Please, we can explain. She started, but my father interrupted. He gripped the doorframe like it was the only thing keeping him grounded. No, not now, he said, his voice low and urgent. We must focus on your aunt's letters. They pertain to you, to us, to everything. My heart raced. I didn't want to think about the letters, but my curiosity gnawed at me. I turned back to the table, letters scattered like fallen leaves, their secrets whispering in the charged air. I grabbed another envelope, torn between dread and intrigue. This one felt heavier, the paper thicker. As I tore it open, the fragrance of aged parchment wafted up, mingling with the smell of rain. Inside, another set of surreal wishes and bizarre names awaited. But one name stood out, too familiar: Sarah. My blood ran cold. Sarah was an old friend, someone I hadn't seen in years. Why did my aunt mention her? Read it out loud, my father urged, his voice trembling with tension. Uneasily, I took a deep breath and began. The words slipped, jumbled together in urgency. To Sarah, should the need arise, holds the key to my legacy. My voice caught on the word key. It resonated like a bell chiming in the silence. I felt the air rush out of the room, as if everyone held their breath. What does that mean? Key to what? I pressed, heart racing faster than the storm outside. My mom's hand flew to her mouth, her eyes widening in fear. She has always been involved. We thought she was safe. Before I could question further, my father stepped outside, braving the storm, leaving me and my mother staring at each other in confusion. "Dad!" I yelled, half certain he'd lost his mind. But he didn't answer. It was as if the storm itself swallowed his words. I turned back to my mom, her expression suddenly more fragile than I had ever seen. "We've put everyone in danger. Your aunt, she knew things. Terrible things." "What do you mean?" I pressed, but was met with a heavy silence that hung in the air, thick and suffocating. The walls felt like they were closing in on me, the storm crashing around us like an orchestra of chaos. "The letters." I scrambled, rifling through them once more, desperate for answers. As I flipped through the contents, I discovered a small, gilded key at the bottom of one envelope. My fingers trembled as I picked it up, feeling its cool metallic surface. What did she mean by this? What door does this open? I whispered to myself, but before I could think more, a loud crash of thunder shook the house. My mom's terrified gaze darted to the windows. "We have to go. Darkness is coming." But where would we possibly go? Just then, a shriek echoed from the direction my father had gone. My heart dropped. I bolted toward the door, the key clutched tightly in my hand. What awaited me outside? And what secrets had been buried in the storm? I was about to find out. I burst through the door, the wind whipping around me like a wild spirit, dragging me into the night. The rain fell in sheets, soaking my clothes instantly, but that didn't matter now. All I could hear was the sound of my father's terrified scream piercing through the darkness. "Dad!" I called out, my voice swallowed by the fury of the storm. Fear clawed at my insides as I stumbled forward, searching for any sign of him. It felt like I was running through a nightmare, every flash of lightning illuminating the shadows for just a heartbeat before pulling them back into a terrifying darkness. I caught a glimpse of movement near the old oak tree at the edge of the yard. A figure, my father. His silhouette was bent low, as if he were trying to shield himself from something. I rushed towards him, but the moment I reached the tree, I stopped dead. He was trembling, eyes wide with disbelief, staring at something beyond my sight. "Stay back!" he shouted, his voice raw. "What is happening?" I asked, my heart racing. I wanted to reach for him, to pull him to safety, but dread held me in place. "Don't look!" he yelled, but it was too late. I turned my gaze, and what I saw made my blood run cold. There, half hidden in the torrential downpour, stood a figure cloaked in black. The fabric shimmered as water cascaded off it, and beneath the hood, I could barely make out gleaming eyes that glinted with menace. "Leave us alone!" I shouted, instinct overtaking fear. But the figure didn't move. It simply stared, a chilling grin spreading across its face. My father took a slow step backward, panic flooding his eyes. It knows everything," he gasped, pulling me closer, as if he could shield me from the horror before us. "Who are you?" I demanded, my voice unerringly steady despite the turmoil inside. The figure tilted its head, the grin widening, revealing a flash of sharp teeth. "I am the keeper of secrets," it whispered, a voice smooth and haunting, like the darkness itself. "And you, dear child, have much to learn." I felt the weight of the key in my hand, its gilded surface warm against my palm. The letters, their cryptic words flashed through my mind, dancing in a frenzy. Was this creature connected to Sarah? To my aunt? "What do you want from us?" I shouted, desperation creeping into my voice. "Nothing yet. But your aunt's legacy cannot remain buried. There are those who will seek the truth, and they will not stop until it is found." The figure stepped back, disappearing into the curtain of rain, leaving my father and me alone again. A heavy silence fell over the yard. It was as if the storm itself was holding its breath, waiting. "Dad, what does this mean? What's the legacy?" I asked, grabbing his arm. My mind raced with possibilities. My mother had been consumed by fear, and now my father was losing his grip. "I don't know," he whispered, his eyes wild. "But we need to leave. We can't stay here. Not anymore." "What about the letters? The key?" I pressed, my heart aching with the uncertainty surrounding us. "We'll figure it out on the way if we can get away." The world around us felt chaotic, swirling and unresolved. Would I trust in the unknown? As we turned to flee toward the house, a blaring siren pierced through the storm like a gunshot. Dread pooled in my gut, "Dad, we can't go back, can we?" But all he did was grab my hand tight and run. Unfathomable darkness loomed behind us, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something or someone was hunting us. Each step felt heavier than the last, as if the storm itself was trying to drag us under. What would I discover? What lay ahead in this uncharted fog of fear and secrets? I could only hope we'd find answers before it was too late. The moment our feet hit the porch, the house loomed over us like a giant dark sentinel, its windows glinting evilly in the stormy night. I glanced back, the world outside a frenzied maelstrom of rain and shadow, and a cold shiver traced down my spine. Whatever had haunted my father was still out there, and the gnawing sense of dread twisted my stomach into knots. "Get inside," my father urged, practically dragging me through the door. The smell of wet wood and mold assaulted me, reminding me of every horror movie I had ever watched. I glanced around, my eyes darting over the familiar clutter of the living room, but it suddenly felt foreign, unwelcoming. He shut and locked the door, his breath ragged and desperate. "We're safe for now," he mumbled. But were we really? I could feel the hammering of my heart drowning out the storm. "Dad, what was that thing?" I asked, pressing through the fear. What did it mean about Aunt Sarah's legacy? He pinched the bridge of his nose, his fingers trembling. "I don't know. She was involved in something dangerous. Something we thought we left behind." He flinched, lost in memories I couldn't access. "I thought we could escape it." "Escape what?" I demanded, frustration bubbling. "Don't keep me in the dark. Haven't we been through enough?" He dropped his hands and looked directly at me, his eyes full of a haunted kind of urgency that made my skin crawl. "Your aunt was part of something connected to those who seek the truth. You have the key, but it's not just a key." It suddenly a loud crash interrupted him, making me jump. An eerie silence coated the room as we both held our breath. What was out there? My father whispered, eyes straining toward the darkened hallway. The fear was palpable. I could nearly taste it. We stood frozen, minds racing, hands clasped tightly together. The house creaked ominously around us, a cacophony of sounds thrown by the wind. Then, another noise, the unmistakable sound of footsteps. Someone or something was in the house. "Stay behind me," my father ordered, inching toward the hallway. I wanted to protest, to say it wasn't safe, but fear paralyzed me. I gripped the key tighter, its weight anchoring my spirit. As he moved down the hallway, I followed slowly, each step echoing like a heartbeat in the stillness. The living room's shadows seemed to dance, morphing into figures that taunted me with their obscured shapes. I blinked back, tears of uncertainty, catching my breath, and then I saw a glimpse of a figure shrouded in darkness. "Who's there?" my father called, voice trembling but defiant. "Are you looking for this?" The voice was smooth, almost mocking. I felt a surge of rage and fear. "What do you want?" I shouted back, more for my own courage than anything else. From the shadows, a pair of eyes gleamed, the same chilling stare I had seen outside. The figure stepped into a slant of lightning. It was the cloaked figure from the yard. Only now it was impossibly closer, a grin visible beneath the hood. And it wasn't he alone. Behind it, a terrible burst of motion, and the silhouette of others emerged, a small army shrouded in the same black fabric. They moved as one, a tide of shadow ready to swallow us whole. "Dad!" My heart raced again, thrumming in my ears as panic seized me. "We need to run," he shouted, pulling me back. As we bolted toward the other end of the house, a chilling laughter echoed behind us. "You can't escape the truth," it taunted, the words slicing through my resolve like glass shards. And in that moment, I felt a fierce resolve wash over me. We had to find answers, and we had to confront whatever this legacy was before it consumed us. Ahead, a door led to the basement, its ancient wood beckoning with a sense of finality. What lay below? Would we finally meet the answers we desperately sought? Or would we stumble into an even greater trap? We had no choice but to descend into the depths of our fears. With a last glance behind, I knew we were being hunted. As we reached for the doorknob, a blinding flash of lightning illuminated the room, and in that instant I sensed something shifting, something behind us. What would we uncover? And would it be enough to save us from the darkness that closed in? The doorknob felt cold against my palm, a stark contrast to the warmth of my racing heart. I hesitated, measuring the moment, and just as my father pushed it open, the whispers closed in around us. They were unintelligible yet haunting, echoing as if the very walls were alive, beckoning us into their depths. The basement door creaked ominously, and I felt the stale air rush past us, heavy with the scent of mildew and forgotten memories. As we stepped inside, I squinted against the gloom. Shadows twisted in every corner, blurring the edges of the room. The stairs behind us creaked under the weight of our danger, definitely not quite safe anymore. "Can you see anything?" Dad whispered, his voice tight with fear. No, a lump lodged in my throat, and dread snaked around my heart. "What if they come after us?" "Then we need to be ready," he replied. Stealing his resolve, he flipped on the light, and a single bulb flickered to life, revealing dusty shelves stacked high with boxes. They looked as if they hadn't been disturbed in decades, cloaked in a thick film of dust. The sight made my stomach churn. What secrets were locked in those containers? With every cautious step forward, we surveyed our surroundings, but an unshakable feeling of being watched settled heavily in the air. What was that? I wondered aloud when a sudden sound interrupted the quiet, a soft whisper that felt like a breath against my ear. My father's head whipped around, his eyes wide with alarm. "Did you hear, Sha?" I interrupted, closing my eyes, straining to catch the faint echoes that surrounded us. The whispers intensified, swirling into indistinct chorus, growing louder and more chaotic, and for one terrifying moment, I thought they might swallow us whole. "It's a warning," I murmured, the chills racing down my arms. "They know we're here." We moved deeper into the basement, each box now a potential bearer of doom. My fingers brushed against the rough surfaces, instinctively searching for something familiar. Then I found it, a box marked with Aunt Sarah's name, the scrawl neat yet unsettling against the battered cardboard. "Should we?" I asked, my voice barely more than a whisper. "Yeah, but we need to be quick." He looked toward the shadows, tension coiling tighter in the silence as we pried the top open. A musty odor erupted, mingling with fear. Inside, papers and old photographs spilled out, illuminated by the flickering bulb. Disjointed memories, family moments preserved in time, smiling faces I barely recognized. A younger version of my father cradling me in his arms, and there, in the backdrop, a figure cloaked in black, lurking at the edge of the frames, a specter tied to our past. "Dad, look," I gasped, holding up one of the photos. The unease in his eyes deepened, and I felt the world around us grow heavier. Before he could respond, the whispers crescendoed, morphing into cries echoing with unearthly anguish. Then a crash from above silenced everything. "What was that?" I shouted, voice trembling. "Something's coming," he breathed, fear etched on his face. "We have to find a way out now." But as we scrambled to gather the scattered remnants, a shadow flickered by the doorway, a presence not hidden in darkness but beckoning from the light. For an instant, I could see its shape, a twisting, malignant form that thrummed with rage. "Go! Now!" my father yelled, urgency seeping into his voice. We turned to escape, but the basement door slammed shut behind us, trapping us in the grasp of the unknown. "Can't you see the truth?" the voice whispered, echoing from the depths. "You're already part of it." Panic surged as I pulled at the door, but it wouldn't budge. Frantically, I searched for another way out, but the walls felt like they were closing in, the air thick with our desperation. What were we trapped in? What truth lay at our feet, waiting to be uncovered? With every instinct screaming to escape, we plunged deeper into the heart of our fears, racing against time and the consuming darkness. And just as I turned, I caught sight of the figure standing behind my father, eyes glinting fiercely. In the dim light, would we ever escape, or were we precisely where we were meant to be? The walls pulsed as the whispers turned shrill, becoming a cacophony of terror. I couldn't breathe. My heart hammered against my chest like a wild drum, each beat a reminder that time was running out. "Dad, we have to do something," I gasped, the panic straining my voice. He grabbed my arm, his grip tight, eyes darting as if they could pierce through the shadows. "There has to be another way out, somewhere in here." His resolve only deepened my dread. I looked around, and the boxes loomed taller now, a fortress of secrets stacked high in the corners like towering giants ready to fall. Then I saw it. A window, grimy and small, set high above the floor. "Look," I pointed, reveling momentarily in hope. "We can climb." But as I moved toward it, the figure lurking at the edge of the room shifted, and I froze. I could see it more clearly now, dark, swirling shadows that wriggled around its form as if the darkness itself had come alive. I felt every hair raise on my body, pure dread gripping my throat. "Don't look," Dad shouted, but I couldn't help it. My eyes were glued to its presence, the way it seemed to draw the light from the bulb overhead. Suddenly, the whispers morphed into a frenzy of voices, each competing to be heard. A violent storm of desperation. They clawed at my mind, desperate to share what they knew. "Through the truth you find release." "What does that mean?" I shouted, fists clenched. I turned to my father, desperate for answers, but his face was etched with a mix of fear and determination. "Where's the truth we need to find?" "Well, look," he said, nudging me toward the nearest boxes. My hands trembled as I reached for the closest one, the label peeling at the edges, and pulled it toward us. "Help me." We heaved it open, and the musty smell almost knocked us back. Old journals, yellowed and fading, spilled out, each page a fragment of someone's life. We rifled through them, searching for words, for clues, as the noise around us grew louder, threatening to drown us in chaos. "There." Dad pointed. "That one." I could see now, one entry recorded a night almost a decade ago, detailing a shadowy meeting, secrets spoken in hushed tones, a mention of the price of the past. My heart sank. What price was it referring to? "Focus," he said, pulling another journal. This could explain everything. But I caught the movement in the corner of my eye. The figure was closer now, its presence pressing against my back like an icy wind. I spun, feeling like I was looking at both my greatest fear and the dark truth of my family's history all at once. "What do you want from us?" I yelled, voice cracking. The figure, if it had a face, was hidden behind an impenetrable layer of shadows, but I felt its gaze piercing me. "You must uncover or be lost forever," it whispered, the tone wrapping around my spine like a vice. My father gripped my shoulder, pulling me back from the edge of despair. "We can't let fear stop us. We have to understand what this is." I nodded, drawing a deep breath, steeling my nerves. For every ounce of fear thrumming within me, there was a flicker of determination. But the urgency mounted as the walls felt tighter, the shadows swirling, waiting for us to fall. "Let us keep going. There must be something here that ties it all together," I urged. We clawed through the chaos, but the darkness grew thick around us, that malignant presence inching closer. Just then, with a crash, something shattered behind us. I turned to see a box unmarked and unrevealed tipped over, its contents spilling out. A small, aged key rolled to my feet, glinting in the dim light, promising to unlock secrets and perhaps our survival. "What's that?" My father bent down, the glimmer catching his eye as well. "It looks important," I whispered. But as we reached for it, the whispers rose again, louder, more distorted. "Take the key or lose everything." What could that mean? What lay behind the door it could unlock? A decision had to be made, but the shadows were closing in. Would we dare to discover the truths about our family? Or would we be consumed by the very darkness we sought to escape? The room felt like it was tightening around us, every heartbeat echoing against the suffocating walls. I glanced at the key, shining in the darkness like a beacon. My fingers trembled with urgency as I reached down, the cold metal sending a shock of reality through me. "Should we take it?" I whispered, barely able to hear my own voice over the rising din of voices. My father's brow furrowed, his anxiety flaring. "We don't have time to think. If it opens a door, it might lead us to safety." I nodded, gripping the key with a newfound resolve. Fine details of its surface felt familiar, a family crest I couldn't quite place, the weight of it heavy with promise and dread. But the shadowy figure edged closer, encroaching on our only hope. "You must decide," it hissed. The words slithered through the air, each syllable sackled with malice. "Go now," Dad commanded, energy surging through him. We turned toward the wall where the whispers seemed most intense, a thick fog of darkness swirling. I put one foot forward, then another, closing the distance to what appeared to be the outline of a door. There it was, a rusted keyhole half hidden by grime. My heart raced as I placed the key into the lock. It fit surprisingly snug, like it was waiting for us, just as the weight in my chest felt like it had been waiting to be lifted. "Turn it," Dad urged, pulse pounding in his voice. I twisted the key and there was a crack, then a loud clank like the shattering of glass. The sound reverberated, drowning out the chaos, plunging us into silence. I stared in disbelief as the door slowly swung open, A sliver of light slicing through the darkness, a pathway leading somewhere unknown. "Let us go," I shouted, eyes wide, feeling a strange blend of terror and exhilaration. We stepped through, the door creaking as if reluctant to give us passage. The corridor beyond was dim, lined with dusty wallpaper peeling away as if the room itself was shedding skin. But something was off. A chill raced down my spine like icy fingers. The whispers didn't follow us, they waited, lurking, echoing around the doorframe. "You're not safe, not yet, quick," Dad whispered, pushing us forward. We walked cautiously, but the stillness of this new space felt like a threat. The atmosphere buzzed with electric anticipation. At any moment shadows could strike as we moved deeper. Flickers of movement caught my eye, images appearing on the walls, running through the fading paint. Scenes of my family history, moments I had never seen, faces I didn't recognize. There were fragmented memories of laughter, crying, and betrayal, all swirling together, mixing like a storm brewing. "Do you see that?" I gasped, heart lurching. "Are those our relatives?" "Yes," he replied, breath hitching. "But they're distorted, something isn't right." The faces morphed, twisted into expressions of anguish, mouths opening in silent screams. The grief in the air was palpable. "What happened to them?" "Keep moving," Dad snapped, panic rising. Then a strange glimmer caught my eye, a frame placed against the wall, its edges dull but familiar. I stepped closer, dread pooling in my stomach as I rubbed away the dust and revealed a photograph, crisp against the darkness. My heart raced. There, capturing a moment long gone, was my mother and father, their youthful faces smiling back at me. But beside them stood a figure I had never seen before, a woman with piercing eyes and an inscrutable smile. My breath hitched as a whisper rode the air. "Clearer now, the truth lies within you, but you have to pay, Dad." "Who is she?" I blurted, fear tightening my throat. He leaned closer, eyes wide with recognition, and suddenly, the chill in the corridor morphed into a tempest. I don't know." Before he finished, a deafening crack echoed, the door slamming shut behind us. Darkness surged like a tidal wave, engulfing us. The voice was back, screaming, wailing, begging for release. "Find the truth or be bound by the shadows forever." Could the truth of our family's past be our salvation or our ruin? And then I felt it, a tug, like a thread of regret pulling me back toward the photograph. "Dad, what did we uncover?" A choice lay ahead, a yoke crushing down on us. Could we brave the darkness that came from uncovering the truths we perhaps weren't meant to find? The air was thick with an unsettling pressure. It clung to my skin, wrapping around me like an unwelcome embrace. I glanced at the photograph still in my trembling hands, the woman with the haunting gaze now at the forefront of my thoughts. "Why does she look familiar?" I whispered, as if speaking loudly might awaken something lurking in the shadows. "Let us keep moving," Dad urged, his voice strained. He scanned the dim corridor, eyes darting left and right, as if anticipating an attack. But I couldn't tear my gaze away from the photograph. "Dad, what if she's important? We don't have time to play detective." His frustration bubbled over, mixed with fear. "We need to get out of here." Panic fluttered in my chest as I pocketed the photograph, the silence around us becoming more oppressive. Each step echoed like a drumroll, pressing against the silence that beckoned us to hurry. A strange glow flickered ahead, pooling with an eerie light. It illuminated a door at the end of the corridor, a stark contrast to the darkness enveloping us. It was ornate, embellished with intricate carvings that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. "Is that a way out?" I whispered, stepping ahead, drawn to it as if under a spell. "Maybe," Dad replied hesitantly, his voice echoing uncertainty. "We should be careful." Suddenly, a sound broke the quiet, a whisper so soft it barely registered. Turn back, it slithered through the air with chilling urgency, sending shivers crawling up my spine. What was that? I glanced back, but the corridor behind us was shrouded in darkness, the shadows twisting as if alive. "Keep going," Dad insisted, tension radiating off him. I hesitated, fear cracking through my bravado. Was this really salvation waiting for us? I edged closer to the door, hand reaching out, feeling the heat emanating from its polished wood. It felt alive, warm, as if yearning to be opened. My heart raced as I pressed against it. "Wait." Dad grabbed my wrist and pulled me back. "We have to think this through." But the urgency in me was too strong. What if we're running out of time? Before I could rationalize it, he forced me into a corner. If you're right, then opening it could be dangerous. Or it could lead us home. I shot back, every instinct screaming for action. That moment. The glow intensified, casting shadows dancing in bizarre shapes. The whispers collided and morphed into a loud chorus, layers of fear intertwining in a cacophony that echoed through the passage. Open the door in a flash. I pushed back against him, flinging open the door with a surge of will. Light surged forward, engulfing me as I stepped through the threshold, my father close behind. The sudden brightness was blinding, an explosion of colors that spun and whipped around us, pulling us in like a whirlwind. When the kaleidoscope cleared, we found ourselves in a vast room lined with mirrors, thousands of reflections staring back at us. Fragmented pieces of ourselves, each one subtly different. What is this place? I breathed, panic creeping back. Are these the truths? Suddenly, the woman from the photograph appeared in one of the mirrors, her eyes locking onto mine. She was smiling wide now, that same inscrutable smile, the edges of her lips turning upward as if she had just shared a profound secret. Find her, you must find the truth, she whispered, her voice echoing through the vastness. With every word, the reflections began to distort, twisting into dark, wretched versions of ourselves, eyes filled with terrible sorrow and despair. This isn't right. I gasped, stepping back. Dad! I turned, but he was now standing in front of another mirror, transfixed, as if the glass held some intoxicating power over him. Dad, snap out of it. But he didn't respond. The room spun again, shadows creeping closer, flickering like candlelight, threatening to consume us whole. Dad, please! I cried, fear clawing at my throat as I reached out for him. The woman's laughter echoed, light and yet dark, bringing a chilling cold as it intertwined with our desperation. The truth lies within, but to uncover it, you must sacrifice. I felt an unseen force gripping at my heart, my breath catching as understanding hit like a punch. Would sacrifice tear us apart or set us free? I had to choose, and quickly. Dad! I screamed, breaking through to him, desperately searching for his eyes that were now lost in the mirage of the mirrors. Would I be strong enough to confront the truth, or would it lead to our undoing? And then it hit me, a last scream from the dark abyss of my own mind. It was a revelation, one that would change everything forever. What price would we pay for the truth? The echoes of the woman's laughter faded into the concealed corners of the vast room, but the swirling shadows intensified, welcoming a heavier sense of dread. My heart pounded, each beat ringing in my ears, drowning out the discordant whispers that filled the air. I could feel the pulse of the mirrors drawing me in, teasing me with their reflections. Dad! I shouted again, my voice breaking the dreamlike haze that enveloped him. The reflection of the man I knew was twisted, trapped behind glass, the features sketched with confusion, longing, and something more frighteningly alien. I lunged forward, desperate. Snap out of it. My fingers met cold glass, and for a moment, I felt a jolt, like static electricity zapping through my arm. An unbearable urge bloomed within me to reach through, to pull him free. But as I pressed my palm hard against the surface, a wave of energy pushed back, stronger than my will. I stumbled, breathless. Find her, it was the woman again, her voice now powerful, saturating the room. Only through her will you see. The mirrors distorted, revealing dark alleys and abandoned houses. I caught fragmented glimpses of lives I didn't live, echoes of silent screams, lost memories and broken promises. Was this the truth? Or just a warped reflection, a trap? Dad! I yelled more forcefully, fury mingling with fear. I couldn't let the darkness take him. He stirred, blinking as the shadows flickered momentarily around us. Claire. The confusion in his eyes broke my heart. Yes, it's me. You have to fight it. He shook his head, the internal struggle evident. I can't. She's trying to show me something. She wants to pull you in. Listen to me. As if activated by my voice, a single glowing sum of light appeared, shining brighter than the chaos surrounding us. The light danced and shifted, illuminating the edges of the room, a beacon beckoning, calling for the truth. Suddenly one mirror began to vibrate, the image within becoming clearer, revealing a sorrowful scene, an old home, peeling paint, and a small pink dress hanging limply from its hook. Beneath it, a tiny chair upturned and abandoned. I felt my stomach knot. Claire, look. Dad was mesmerized. His voice trembled as he pointed toward the mirror. I know that place. Is it our home? No, he said, his voice now gravelly. It's a memory. A part of our past, something I buried. We were supposed to protect you, but what happened? My pulse quickened, aching for understanding. A history denied to me. Visions of laughter and a backyard filled with sunlight flickered through the shadows, now laced with sorrow. The woman's reflection twisted again, laughter morphing into an ominous echo. You must decide, Claire. Will you save him or let the past reclaim you? Beneath my feet, the ground began to tremble, each quaking step amplifying the urgency. No, we can't. We're not letting you take my dad. I reached for him, locking eyes, hoping my voice was a lifeline. Let us face it together. I begged. Whatever it is, we can find a way. I won't abandon you. A moment's silence hung thick as fog, until the shadows retreated just a step, a breath of doubt. That was my chance. Now, hold on to me. I grabbed his hand, a desperate bond against the overwhelming swirl of darkness and light. His grip tightened. What if, no what ifs? I pulled, each forceful motion drawing us toward the shimmering light. Before us, the woman's expression shifted, a sinister grin that culminated into a shriek, piercing through the air, shaking the mirrors around us. You cannot escape the truth. But we plunged forward, and in that instant, I felt the power of choice surge within me. Would we dissolve the shadows with the light of our truth? The vibrant glow seemed to beckon brighter as we drew nearer, but the shadows clawed at us from every direction, whispering secrets, trying to pull us back. Together, I cried, adrenaline racing through my veins. Could this light guide us out, or was it the last vestige of hope before the darkness consumed us whole? And as we approached the light, I knew this was no ordinary leap. We were crossing into the unknown. Would we uncover the truth we needed? Or would it sever the fragile bond we had left? The answer shimmered just beyond reach. What shadows lurked behind the truth? The light enveloped us, so bright it burned like the sun. I held my breath, clinging to my father's hand tightly. Then it shattered as we burst through, spilling us onto a familiar wooden floor. We were home, the living room of my aunt's old house. Through the dim light, I could see the old photographs hung crookedly on the walls, the laughter of memories reflected in their frames, yet the air still pulsed with an electric charge. Nothing dissipated, everything shifted. The house seemed alive, whispering to me, asking questions I wasn't ready to answer. Claire. Dad's voice broke through, heavy with confusion and relief. Is this where we were? I think so, I replied, cautiously stepping forward, my heart still pounding with remnants of the shadows we had just escaped. And then I saw her, a figure standing in the doorway. Aunt Sarah. Her expression was serene yet unreadable, as if she was waiting for us to comprehend the truth that lay before us. Welcome back, she said softly. Her voice carried warmth and familiarity, but there was an undercurrent of something darker, something unfinished. I approached her slowly, my heart racing. You were part of it all, weren't you? Sarah nodded, her gaze steady. Yes. I buried more than just my past, Claire. I buried our family's legacy. Why? Dad interjected. His voice crackled with tension, memories of the fear that chased us still visible in his eyes. Why did you let it come to this? There are truths that can destroy, Sarah stated plainly. Things that must stay hidden for the safety of those we love. But sometimes hiding it consumes you. I thought I could outsmart it. Instead it found me. Her voice quavered slightly, a hint of anguish breaking through. What kind of truth? I pressed, needing to understand, needing answers. And why did you give me the key? The key opens doors of past and present, Claire. Your past led you here. To uncover the darkness, you must also embrace the light. Outside, the storm had dissipated, a soft breeze wafting through the open window nearby, a far cry from the chaos we faced. It felt like a moment of peace, a breath between battles. But at what cost? Dad whispered, tracing his fingers against the edge of a photo frame, memories flickering before his eyes. I glanced over the room, my childhood remnants intertwined with shadows, secrets roaming free. If you wish to wield the key, understand that it comes with weight. To protect the future, you must confront the past, Sarah replied, her eyes glowing with an ancient wisdom, yet clouded with sorrow. I don't want to lose us again, I found myself saying, the resolve rising within me. I couldn't allow history to repeat itself, our family torn apart by fear and darkness. Then you must collect the pieces. Find what was lost, Aunt Sarah instructed, stepping closer, her presence igniting urgency. The house holds the answers. The letters, the photographs, they are the map of our legacy. Only by showing courage and facing them will the memories rest. The weight of her words hung like a heavy mantle over my shoulders. I understood it all suddenly. The warping mirror of past traumas, the hidden fears that had governed our lives. They all called out to be healed. We will, together, I declared, determination blanketing wavering fears. I turned to my father, ready to take back control. We'll face this as a family and reclaim our legacy together. We can heal. His brow lifted, a flicker of gratitude washing over his face. You're right, Claire. This is our chance to rewrite things. With that, we shared a resolute nod. A pact formed between us, as Aunt Sarah watched, a smile touching her lips, hope radiating from her very essence. As my fingers brushed the edges of an old box near the hearth, I felt lifetimes of stories waiting to flow back into existence. Come on, let us explore. We began to sift through the remnants of our past, the weight of confusion lifting, just a little light beginning to seep into the darker corners of our lives. With each letter I opened, each photograph I examined, I felt the truth inch closer. Time passed, and as the last remnants of sunlight painted the walls, the shadows of our family's burden seemed to lift. Through laughter and tears we unearthed secrets whispered through generations, and one by one, the weight began to dissolve. Finally, everything fell still, the only sound being the soft rustle of memories. I glanced out the window, the horizon stretching into golden light. My heart surged with gratitude, intermingled with a fierce sense of hope. My father placed a hand on my shoulder, and together we faced the tendrils of the past still lingering in hushed tones. They would no longer haunt us. The weight had been shared, and love was our greatest truth. I love you, Dad. Whatever comes next, I promise we'll face it head on, I vowed, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a deep sense of peace. In that moment, Aunt Sarah's spirit seemed to linger, a guardian presence framing our home. And as we stood under the blanket of Twilight's embrace, we finally felt free. The door to our past was still ajar, waiting patiently for us to explore. And we took that step forward, hand in hand, ready for whatever lay ahead. To anyone who has ever felt the pull of darkness, the weight of family secrets, remember this. The truth can be forged into a light, a healing balm against the scars we bear. Hold on, keep forging ahead, and never forget the power of love. And if you found any spark of inspiration in this story, now is the moment to show your support. Subscribe immediately to the channel, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help grow our community. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories. Your voice matters. And don't wait even one more second to share this tale with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Together, let us build a world where we confront our pasts and embrace the power of truth.